What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. In today's video I wanted to talk about why we decided to go on this road trip together as a family and how we made it all possible. So the first reason why we decided to go on this trip was, it sounds probably pretty obvious, but it was to spend time together as a family. So we're in this situation where our kids are 4 and 2 years old. Leah's turning 5 next month, and we just feel that there's a small window of time left where we can spend this time with the kids before they're gonna both be fully ingrained in the school system with extracurricular activities, sports, all the kind of things that happen when you go into school. So we felt that this was sort of a rare opportunity, and not even a rare opportunity, a once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to get together with the kids and go on this road trip. So as soon as we kind of made that determination that, okay, go this way, bud. I'm at my aunt's house. That's looks like Lonnie Kai, but that's Keikoa. He's also a black lab. But anyways, once we decided that that's what we wanted to do, we kind of had to act quick, and we had to weigh this with a number of other things. But I would say that the second reason why we wanted to go on this trip was we were just feeling a little bit burnt out from work and for our careers. Both Adelie and I have worked really hard, and I don't know the exact amount of years Adelie's been working, but for me, I think I've been working for about 15 years, and just felt like I needed a break, and felt that where I was at in my career was just time to take a little bit of a break. So yeah, simply put, decided that this trip would be a good reset, and so we'll find out in the end if that turned out to be true or not, but it feels good to have this time off and to be spending it with the kids. All right, and a third reason why we decided to go on this road trip was we felt like we were stuck in a Groundhog Day, this eternal loop of wake up, get the kids ready, take them to school, go to work, pick the kids up, get dinner ready, hang out with the kids for maybe 1 or 2 hours, put them to sleep, have like 1 or 2 hours to ourselves, and then go to sleep, and then rinse and repeat. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I felt that there was just something more that I was seeking. Both Adelie and I felt this way, and we just decided that we needed to kind of interrupt that pattern, and certainly going on a road trip like this has done that, because no day is the same. And what's funny is the life of that routine that I just described at home, by comparison, is so much easier. It's so much easier to kind of go through your life through that, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's simple by comparison to this life where we're traveling on the road and we're in a different city, state, area, and we don't know where our next campsite's gonna be, or we need to find out where we're gonna do our laundry, where we're gonna do our grocery shopping. We need to juggle what time we're gonna get at a campsite. So it's just like way more complicated. It's not a simplification of life, I would say. However, with that said, it makes for so many adventures and so much fun, and there's a lot of positive that comes from it. But as far as a contrast between our previous life and this, it is not easier. It is arguably more difficult. Now, when we're able to slow down and we're able to be at a campsite or in a location, I think that's where the beauty of life comes. Like when you live this lifestyle, so long as you get all of the logistics taken care of, then you can really start to appreciate life. And I think that's where you start to see the beauty of this lifestyle. But there is a bit of work to get to those moments. a fourth reason why we decided to go on a trip like this was Adelie and I, our background, or some of kind of like our best experiences together are by way of traveling. And in fact, in 2016, we took a road trip just like this. Well, it was just the two of us, but we were in our 4Runner and we did a bunch of tent camping, and we went through, I think, 14 states, and we did 29 national parks, which is insane. I mean, we were just true road warriors. We covered, we did this in 3 months, and we would sometimes drive 7 or 8 hours a day, which we're not doing with the kids because that would be miserable, and I think we probably would have all killed each other by now. But yeah, that was sort of a really good moment in our early relationship. We had so much fun, and that's how we ended up finding Bellingham, and that's what made us end up deciding to move there. So a trip like that, it was it left such a big impression on our lives, and I think in a way we've been craving something like that because there's so much good from that. Again, that trip at that time in our lives back in 2016, that was such a pattern disruptor for us. You know, at that time we were both living in the Bay Area in San Francisco, working and grinding there. And on that trip, by the way, we both worked remotely from the road. This is pre-pandemic, so we were kind of ahead of the curve, I think, as far as being like road warriors and traveling and working for a SaaS company or a tech company. But yeah, that trip, ended up with us finding Bellingham and making the decision to move to Bellingham. So that was quite a significant trip for us. And it's hard to say, and it's not to say that we wanted to do this trip for that. I did mention a pattern disruption, but I don't know. It does feel as if by the end of this trip, because we're not doing this forever, but it feels like by the end of this trip, it is quite possible that there is going to be some sort of life change that happens for us. I don't think it's going to mean moving or anything crazy like that, but it could be a change in careers for us, because through this process of having time on the road, we're thinking about what we want to do next. And we've come to realize that it's very difficult to plan that out, knowing how our minds are very open to a lot of different opportunities. So it'll be interesting to see where we end up in about, at the end of this trip. So that covered a couple of reasons on the why, but really just to kind of recap that, I mean, most importantly was spending time together as a family. We feel really fortunate. It's not lost on us that what we're doing is such an incredible opportunity. We're very grateful. We're going to have all these memories to look back on with our kids while they're at the age that they're at. We're still their favorite people. They want to hang out with us. They think we're the coolest people. It's not going to always be that way, and sadly that's probably going to change very soon. But while we had that connection with them, we really wanted to optimize our time together. So we feel by doing this trip, we've really gotten to take advantage of that, and really grateful that we had this opportunity. And it almost was feeling to us like it would be irresponsible not to take this. So that's like that was the why. This is like in Simon Sinek's the why and then the how. So the why is very important because you have to define why you want to do this, why we wanted to go on this road trip in the first place. So I just kind of went through those reasons. But how we made this happen, one of the things that comes up for us most often when we talk about our trip so far with friends and family, people are just sort of kind of curious as to financially how we're making it work out. And let me just tell you, just to debunk a myth here, Adelie and I, we are not rich. We're not poor, but we're not rich. We are far from that. We both came from very humble upbringings. Our parents are middle-class workers. There's no gifts of money to make this happen from our parents. How we made this possible. And again, just a little bit more about my own backstory. Adelie was far more responsible and mature than I was. But when I was in college and right after college, I was very financially irresponsible, and I got myself into a big financial hole with debt and whatnot. I'm not gonna make this about that story per se, but long story short, I got out of that and paid off all my all my debts, all my loans, my student loan debt, my credit card bills, and then was able to save up a bunch of money, buy a house, and along the way we had some luck as well. We both worked at a company and got in pre-IPO, and that certainly really helped. So there was for sure a lot of luck involved. That allowed us to be able to make additional money on top of like what our salary was. And so that gave us just a huge padding in addition to working hard, excelling in our careers. So, you know, the how we made this happen, it's really a boring story, to be honest. It's just the story of working really hard and finding a purpose and gaining some momentum. You know, I have struggled financially, like I just had mentioned, and it sucked. You know, like a lot of my friends, they were all just crushing it in life, having good jobs, making good money, buying houses, you name it. And there I was just kind of struggling, and finally started to kind of, once I stopped feeling sorry for myself and my situation and decided to work hard at it and just really put my nose down, I was able to build up some momentum, and you know, it led me to the point where then I was able to pay off my loans, like I already mentioned. And so yeah, it's kind of a boring story, but I mean, really what it boils down to is just working hard and saving money. We didn't want to take a gamble on this. You know, we have 2 kids and we have a house, and we've worked hard to get to where we're at. And so taking this trip, we've done so in a responsible way financially. You know, hopefully in another video I can go into more details and break it out, but we met with our financial advisor and we kind of came up with a plan, came up with a budget. We rented out our house. We sold 1 car because we just wouldn't need it. We decided we can purchase another car at the end of this road trip. We just didn't want to have to deal with figuring out a place to store it, and then on top of that pay for the storage. And then while we're doing that, like the car's just sitting there, so we were able to sell it, and that the proceeds will eventually go back into buying another car, but it also just gave us a little bit of extra buffer to do this trip. So yeah, I would like to make a video and talk in more detail. If that's of interest to you, let me know below in the comments if that would be something of interest to you. But yeah, the real short answer of how we made this possible was just working hard, coming up with a plan, living within our means, and just being committed to this. Now, that's not to say that this was like a 3-year plan. We thankfully just had a bunch of money saved up, and with that money we were thinking of doing a couple of things. We were thinking of investing and purchasing another property perhaps, or starting a business. I don't know, we just wanted to have extra money, and I guess that's like a good lesson. If you don't have a big goal that you're working towards, I think that makes it easy. Like if you know you're trying to save up for a big vacation or some time off and you need just call it 100,000. The math is the math. You can figure out by what point you want to take that trip, how much you're going to need, and then come up with a savings plan with some assumptions like the growth on if you put in into the stock market or into an investment portfolio or whatnot. So really, I think it's just a good idea if you're in a position financially where you're able to start saving money. If you know what you're saving up for, if it's for a trip like this or something similar, then just start to do it. If you don't, I think it's still a good idea. You should put together a savings plan, put money into an investment account to sort of see like what you'll be able to, because as that money grows, then you're going to be able to use it for something creative like this. And so once the idea came up, it wasn't a, oh shit, now we need to budget and plan for another 2 or 3 years. It was like, oh cool, we have the money available to take the time off of work. And so we were able to hop right into this trip. So I think that's really important. I guess like the lesson that I would suggest for folks considering something like this is build up the habits, build up the yeah, build up the habits, the systems, and the routines that you think would be needed in order to do something. And it's all transferable. I think that if we decided to go into investing in real estate, I think that a lot of the skills and the disciplines that we would have learned would have been able to apply to that. Now, in the case of this, it applied to a road trip, and so we were just able to execute against that. But I guess one of the key lessons that I remember from Atomic Habits by, I believe it's James Clear, is you need to stack habits and stuff. And so when you're able to save money and you're able to be disciplined, like all of those things kind of build on top of each other. You build positive momentum, and then when you have an opportunity like this, Keiko! And when you have an opportunity like this, you can just make it happen. So once we had the why, and we had the how kind of already just behind the scenes being taken care of, we moved really quick. And so I think we came up with the decision in the middle of February to do this trip, and we were in a month and a half from that point, we were able to take care of all of the things that we needed to do, like renting out our house and clearing out the stuff from our house and getting all of the gear and getting the kids out of school, all that stuff we were able to take care of in a month and a half. And it was fast, it was insane. There was a lot of nights where we stayed up well past midnight just getting stuff ready, but it was all worth it in the end because the experiences that we've gotten so far, I wouldn't trade for a lifetime. And now that we've been on this trip for going on 6 months, was it everything that I envisioned? No, not even close. I would say that it's been more. That said, it's been challenging, and it's been just an opportunity, a season of growth for us, for all of us. I mean, the kids, naturally, they're growing like little weeds, so we can see from photos just the changes in their face and in the length. I mean, gosh, when I hold up Leah, I can barely hold her now. She's probably like 45 pounds. Like, she's getting so heavy and big, and she takes up more than half of my body, and it feels like Landon's catching up real quickly in that front as well. This has just been a tremendous season of growth, and we've really gelled together as a family. We've overcome a lot of obstacles and hurdles on this trip, and I think that this is going to make all of us closer for that. And so I don't think that I really put that much stock into that as a benefit of this trip. I think I was kind of looking more to the wanderlust part of this and seeing amazing sunsets and going on cool epic hikes and adventures. And sure, we've done those things, and those things have been awesome, but it's really all the time that we've spent together, and also just reconnecting with old friends and family and colleagues and meeting strangers on the road. Those have been really the best parts so far on this trip. And looking back now, I mean, I wouldn't even take a second to think about it. I would redo this every single time and would encourage anybody to do something like this. There's obviously a lot of thought and strategy and kind of discussions that need to happen. But I mean, if you're thinking about doing something like this, I really encourage you to start mapping that out. And honestly, if you have any questions about that, drop them below in the comments, and we can either make a future video about that or just reach out and we'd be happy to discuss. And I think what would be of value is to kind of detail out more how we made it happen. I feel like I just kind of went over that very quickly today. But yeah, today was more of a video, like I said, of the why we wanted to go on this trip, and then how we made it happen. Boring answer on the how, just save up money and be financially responsible and budget, blah, blah, blah. But when you have 2 kids and you start to build up some assets and some wealth for yourself, you don't want to just risk and put it all on the line. Okay, well, that about does it for today's video. I hope that this was informative for some of you. If you have any questions, please drop them below in the comments, and certainly I would love to kind of maybe respond back to each one of those. We read all of the comments in our videos. Some of them are hilarious. Now that we've gotten some videos that had some good views, we start to see some real interesting thoughts come through. But I would love to see some really good and challenging questions, or questions that poke at how you could make it happen, because I mean, that would be just a real cool thing, is if through our experiences and our travel, if we helped somebody else or some other family or individual finally pursue something like this that they've kind of been contemplating. But yeah, I just realized there's not a lot of resources out there. I wish I could point back and say, when we were doing this, we watched so-and-so's channel or so-and-so's video or read such and such book, but really we kind of came up with our own plan, and it felt like we were being very loose with our decisions. But I think now in retrospect, I think that we made actually a lot of really good decisions, and I think that comes by way of all of the type of work that Adelie and I were in, the analytical side of our brains. And yeah, when we were thinking about doing a trip like this ourselves, we didn't have resources. There wasn't a channel that had so-and-so saying to do X, Y, and Z, and boom, it'll happen. We figured it out on our own, and I'm happy to report back that it didn't implode upon us, and it feels like in retrospect we made some pretty good decisions. So I'm happy to share what we've learned, which for sure is a good playbook for us. It won't necessarily work for you, but we can at least give some insights into how we approach this and how we made this all happen. So anyways, thank you so much for watching today's video. Please hit the like button, and please subscribe to our channel for future videos, and let us know below what type of videos you'd like to see going forward. Have a great week. Take care. Bye-bye.